Well, there you go. There's all of yesterday's action, and we're ready to get things going for today as well because we've got 3 awesome series for you. First up, it's TNP. Yeah, TNP.
Yeah.
The Fox Sound actually changed their organization overnight, so it's TNP going up against Gamers 2. So that is one heck of a series to start off. We're already in the picks and bans. Let's get things going.
We are. So they changed org, like you said. It's going to be very confusing, though, because they actually have the TFS tag still in game. So we're going to do our best to remember that they're TNP, but of course Gamers 2, Ocelot's team, is going to be playing up against them. Had a very good performance last time around. TFS are yet to be tested in this tournament because they got the buy-through from Ninjas in Pajamas after they didn't show up on time.
Yeah, and there's one other thing to note is that TNP are using a substitute. I got confirmation on this. Yero is not a permanent member of TNP, so he is still playing with Steve Spake's cookies in the Challenger League.
Sure. Okay, it's important because yesterday I saw your reaction because you know Yero very well. When you saw him and you're like, what the hell? But there you go, that's why.
Yeah, so we've got the bans coming out and already a first pick locked in as well. Lulu, Pantheon, Elise, Kassadin, Vi, and Thresh are all standard bans. I mean, for anybody not watching recently, Lulu has been played a lot in the mid lane. That is why there's a Lulu ban. It's an AP Lulu ban. However, first pick on Lee Sin is actually a fairly not common first pick anymore. Used to be.
I would imagine it's for Santrin in jungle.
Yes, yeah.
He does like to play Lee Sin a lot, so if you're very comfortable with a champion like him, then why not? But there are a few champions that are still available here.
Yeah, the thing is, I can see why they'd first pick Lee Sin here, because Pantheon, Vi, and Elise are all banned here. So they're 3 incredibly strong junglers that then leaves Lee Sin as a favored European challenger pick. Most European junglers are very good on Lee Sin. So it's a highly contested pick once you get through the Vi, Elise, Pantheon kind of barrier that's currently there in the meta.
Yeah, that's very true. But as we said, there's a few pretty big picks still available. One of which is Wukong from the jungle, especially alongside Leona. That's already a lot of AoE CC synergy right from the first 2 picks.
Also, Yasuo still available, so Wukong being picked up. Yasuo did have adjustments in recent patches, so not quite as strong as he was, but Wukong is kind of a message of intent that if you leave Yasuo available, we're likely to pick him if it comes to it, because they synergize so well.
We saw a composition like this yesterday, and my mind is so bad when it comes to memory, I can't remember who it was, but we had the likes of, I think it was Leona, Orianna, Lulu, and a lot of others. It was like built around a composition with Yasuo, and it just didn't pay off.
That was in the game against Gamers 2. I believe that was Cloud9, not Cloud9, Unicorns of Love.
Yes.
I believe
it was
the team that went for that.
Good guy Stress.
Yes.
With a good memory.
Because it was a damaged top laner going against JWoww, which is what we were discussing yesterday. Of course, JWoww's favorite type of top laner is Kha'Zix. He likes his Jax, so they're still available. However, LeBlanc picked up alongside Sivir. Both are champions that have seen a lot of play recently, to mixed success in Europe. LeBlanc's had an astounding record in NALCS. At one point was 12-0 in games. Not so much in Europe. In the Challenger Invitational last time, we saw LeBlanc actually have about a 50% win rate. And typically, LeBlanc in Europe is less of a safe first pick. I find if you first pick LeBlanc in a mid lane, again, it's a kind of a message is I feel I'm so much better than you in mid lane that I don't care what you play. Because LeBlanc has a couple of counters that are still available. Champions like Zed do very well against her. Even Gragas can do well against her in the lane, and we're hovering over a Zed. It's kind of a message of intent is I think I'm so much better that it doesn't matter to you what I play.
Yeah, very much the case. And, well, you called the Zed before they even picked it. They haven't locked it in just yet, but it would be surprising to me if they didn't lock it in.
It may be a bait. This is something that Yero has run. Yero has run LeBlanc support previously.
Right, okay.
Season 3 predominantly. I don't expect him to be running LeBlanc support in a game of this caliber. He once tried it at Gfinity back last summer, and it didn't have the effect that would have been desired. However, it's in his playbook. So maybe baiting out a counter pick and then countering the counter is an option. I don't expect it, but it's there.
Right, trying to play like this mental chess in the picks and bans. We did see Yero running the Vel'Koz yesterday, albeit not in a serious game against the viewers, but he was 12-1, I think, at the end and still lost. So I'm not too sure how legit this potential pick is going to be, but you never know.
Yeah, and of course, to anybody that didn't tune in yesterday, we're on the live patch currently on the servers. Vel'Koz is available for selection. Hasn't been picked in one of our tournament games yet.
That's true. That is very true. Shen also available and has been, well, hovered over. Not quite picked in, but with 3 seconds to go, it could very well be a Vel'Koz.
No, it's going to be a Zilean, who Yero has played a fair amount. Europe has seen a bit more of a rise of Zilean support, has incredible slows and movement speed additions, and combos quite well with Sivir. On the hunt, plus Zilean's speed abilities will pretty much give anybody a massive, massive speed boost in that lane.
And it's also going to mitigate some of the dangers that you see on the opposite side of Gamers 2, whereby if you can manage to on the hunt and get that speed up from Zilean at the right place at the right time, you can keep LeBlanc alive long enough to dart around the edges of the map and the team fight and try and pick players off. For example, Lucian is probably going to be very, very much targeted from LeBlanc here.
Interestingly enough here, JWoww actually has a lot of his favorite champions available, but the rest of his team is very AD focused. Jax is a pick that he could pick that would kind of offset that, because Jax scales very well into the late game, and you've kind of got that curve on AD compositions. He does lock it in, where you've got a very strong early game where you can get a good enough lead to have a good mid game and shut the game out, or you kind of have to then wait until you get armor penetration items, and then you become significant again, and that's the stage of the game that Jax will be most potent. So you'll have a very potent Jax and a very potent Zed and Wukong at that time of the game. So there's a lot to talk about in these teams.
There really is. The amount of kill potential as well on both sides is pretty huge.
Yeah.
There's so many threats on both sides here. And of course, Zilean is going to be able, if LeBlanc gets fed, we talked about this yesterday, I believe Pepsido, it's strange how my memory works, I remember certain things and some things I don't. But Pepsido was running LeBlanc in that viewer game that we tested. And he was extremely fed, but as soon as he died, the team crumbled, because everything was resting on his shoulders. The cool thing about Zilean, if LeBlanc is going to die, pop ultimate, comes back, and just starts to wreck faces again.
Yeah, that's one thing they have to be careful of, is, of course, that return of LeBlanc. However, the later into the game, I kind of feel like has to, in some situations, favor Gamers 2 here, because not only is Jax going to get very good, but Shen wants to split push later into the game. And if there's one person that can deal with a Shen in the late game, it's Jax, because he will duel anybody 1v1 at that time. So it's one of those situations where it really does depend on how much of a lead either team can get in the mid game, which kind of sounds like every game, but it's far more important in this game for Gamers 2 to get a big lead in the early game so that they don't have to go through that difficult mid game. And it's down to who gets the kills, whether it's going to be Zed, whether it's going to be LeBlanc.
Yep, I completely agree with you. I think it's going to be quite a snowbally game, this one, actually. If a team starts to take an inch, it could very well turn into a mile very quickly. But while we're in the champion select here, of course, we're on the live client, as we said before, so unfortunately we need to wait for the 3-minute delay to tick down. So let's give a quick shout-out to FACEIT, the reason why we're here casting this awesome tournament.
Yeah, and I guess if you weren't here yesterday, we've already said you missed a lot of games, but you also missed this information on exactly what FACEIT is. So FACEIT is a platform online, FACEIT.com, that allows you to play competitive games of your skill level. So if you're bronze, you play against bronze people all the way through. There might be challenger players on there. I'm not too sure. That would be interesting. If they're not, they should be, because you can win some pretty awesome prizes on the FACEIT platform.
Yes, you can. Peripherals for gaming, such as a mouse, keyboard, headset. You can even win a car if you have, I believe it's 5 million FACEIT points.
Peripherals for driving.
Yeah. I don't know how a mouse would work there, but maybe. Could you
I
steal
would
with
not
a
want
mouse
to,
somehow?
No. Oh God. Have you ever tried playing a driving game on a computer with a mouse?
I have. I suck at them.
Yeah, that's the worst thing. Yeah.
That would be pretty dangerous. We don't advocate driving with mice, not in real life anyway. So.
But it's essentially you log on, you click on a tournament, play the games, you earn FACEIT points, and then redeem those points for whichever of the prizes you should choose. And I was hearing there are actually people with close to 150,000 FACEIT points in a discussion we were having last night, which when you consider that you get 200 FACEIT points for a win, around about that, and a keyboard I think is 40,000, headset is 20,000, mouse is 15, that's actually pretty doable. There's actually some pretty clear goals there, and if you are the best bronze player, you can win pretty quickly.
If you're the best bronze player, why aren't you silver?
Because you don't want to be. You want to be in bronze. Look, big fish, small pool, not small fish, big pool.
I can see where you're going with that. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you're saying, you can play against people of equal skill, so you're not going to be matched against someone from Diamond, for example. It's also not just League of Legends. It's important to mention that. It's League of Legends, CSGO, and of course, Quake. Yep. So if you play any of those games, if you have any kind of interest, this is the place for you. Just moved on to EU Nordic and East.
Yep.
Beforehand, it was EU West, so it is expanding very quickly. And just get yourself on there. You don't have to deal with any of the micromanagement. You just link your League of Legends account to the FACEIT profile that you make, and then hey presto, you're good to go.
Yeah, and the other people that we want to say a big thank you to is Overwolf for sponsoring the tournament and making this all possible, because we are about to head into our first game of the day. I cannot wait for this. This should be pretty awesome. As waiting on the loading screen to come up. This is always the...
This is the point when you're on a live client where you're like, please work, please work.
This is the point where...
Yes,
okay. It did the same yesterday, and we had a minor heart attack. But anybody that's been watching Challenger recently knows that we've kind of gone through picks and bans phases, and then it has never loaded. So, European League on 4.2 was we'd watch picks and bans and then guess what happened in the game, and then be given the result. It's
pretty brutal to cast off a stream that's like 30 seconds behind, especially as a play-by-play, because you're casting things people have already seen.
Yep.
So I suck at color casting really, really bad, and I had to do color casting. It wasn't pretty. It just wasn't.
Neither is my color casting, but it's okay. I mean, I make horrible jokes where I feel bad about after, and I'm sorry.
We heard one of them before on the highlight reel.
I'm sorry if anyone was offended by that. I actually legitimately felt bad after that joke.
He did. Well, honestly, he did. He was speaking to me, and he said, I feel really bad for that joke. I was like, why? It was funny.
That tells you more about him than it does about me. But we're into game. We're on Summoner's Rift. Let's get things going with our first semi-final of the day here. It's TNP going up against Gamers 2.
Absolutely. On the Rift for the first game of the day. In the grand finale day as well, we're going to have both the semi-finals followed up by the grand finale itself. $1,000, I nearly said euros there, dollars to the winner, and 500 to second place. And it's all going to be best of threes.
All this different currency.
I know, it's crazy.
Everything should just be in pounds.
I know, right?
Yeah. That's what happens when you get two British people.
Want to rule the world.
One day again. Anyway, we're watching Gamers 2 actually take a little bit different of a standpoint to begin this game. There's a lot of aggression, kind of aggressive positioning. Everybody's down in this bottom side of the map, which is a bit of a departure from the normal lines of scrimmage that we see in LCS and most Challenger games. So we may see some action here, but it is very risky and it is an important game. So you don't want to give away too much at level 1.
That's very true, because, for example, it's not quite as prevalent now as it was before, but if you go for lane switch-ups, if you show your hand early, you can find yourself counted super hard.
Yeah.
So there is definitely an element of wanting to keep the cards close to your chest. You can see that both teams are pretty much ready to rock and roll if it gets to that stage.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to back off, though, for now, which I think is actually the smartest choice. It doesn't exactly make for the most exciting level ones, but, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, definitely the case. Especially on, when you got through to the semi-finals, albeit for TNP, nearly called them TFS there. For TNP's point of view, they did get a bye. But Gamers 2 with a 2-0 victory yesterday over the aforementioned Unicorns of Love. And to be fair to them, they played pretty solid both games.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Gamers 2 actually looking fairly consistent. I mean, we discussed they advanced through their Challenger League game this week as well, so they're having a pretty good week so far. Let's see whether they can continue this with a win here in the semi-finals.
Well, that would definitely be ideal for them to start off on the best possible way. Ocelot, and he said Gamers 2 Ocelot there. In the mid, just taking a bit of punishment from LeBlanc, but he's going to be just fine. Yero, I am a bit worried for Yero if things start to go sour quickly at bot lane, because if Leona jumps onto Yero, then they could get popped very quick.
Okay, it looks like we're just sorting out a little brightness thing in-game, so we'll get that back to you very shortly if it does end up dropping, but you're going to be stuck with us for just a second, I think. However, I'm going to talk a little bit about Zilean in lane, because he's not the most standard of supports. We will be back into game very, very shortly, guys. We're going to keep an eye on it as we do just fix the stream very, very quickly. So Zilean in lane isn't the best laning support. He actually gives away a lot of lane pressure. It's only when you bring a jungler in to actually gank, that you get a lot of the pressure that Zilean applies. He does have harass with his bombs. I think we're heading back into the game very shortly. Here we go, we're back in game. So he does have harass with his bombs, which are actually very low powered early on. You can see Yarrow actually had to go back there, and that's one of the reasons, is for him to harass, he has to move forward, will take a lot of damage from a champion like Lucian in that situation. And from there, you really are awaiting jungle pressure in that lane.
That's a very good point, and I think Zilean really does come into a... Well, I'll actually hold that thought, because Morden's been caught out, forced to flash through the wall. He will be safe, but still, flash on Wukong is pretty important. That's fairly integral to what he's going to try and do from the jungle. Ocelot now finds himself in a really sticky situation and will be going down from Santorin. I'm surprised, honestly. He had flash available still.
I'm a little bit more surprised by the fact that Ocelot knew Santorin was around. They'd seen Santorin chasing Wukong out. So to be in that position to trade, I'm not too sure. But that is a pretty big first blood in that lane. They've taken away any advantage that Ocelot would have had there. Also, the fact that LeBlanc is going to be able to go back and buy once she's pushed this wave out also gets items onto Lee Sin fairly early as well.
Yeah, very true. And Lee Sin, we've talked about this before, is an early game terror. And if he can manage to get the first blood, that is going to turn itself into a couple of early items. He's going to be even more prevalent from the jungle. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch there on Ocelot, because on top of that, LeBlanc did get the assist. So it's going to be pretty strong. Godbro actually taking quite a bit of damage here. Has been popped into the passive, but Ocelot gets snared down. Is going to go extremely deep for this kill underneath the tower. Deary, deary me. I don't really understand.
A little bit too aggressive here, and I think it's a product of the fact that Ocelot knows he needs to get the ball rolling. Because if they start giving kills to LeBlanc and he doesn't get any kills, that really upsets their team composition, because they cannot deal with a LeBlanc. Because to deal with a LeBlanc, you need to be at a point where you have enough magic resist and Banshee's Veils to survive through her burst. But an AD-heavy composition cannot afford to do that. They have to go damage into armor penetration, then into defensive items. And if they don't get there fast enough, LeBlanc will tear them apart.
That's very true, but playing devil's advocate here, I understand he needs to get kills, but by doing this, he's actually making LeBlanc and Lee Sin stronger.
Yeah.
And he's not picking up kills, and he's losing experience. So it's one of those balancing acts where you want to be aggressive, but not overly so. Daoud is now going to find himself in the wrong place at the wrong time right now, as Godbro is now coming down to bot lane. They pick up the kill, and it's on LeBlanc. 1-0 Godbro.
That's an amazing roam. That is absolutely sublime in that rotation to get LeBlanc down there for the kill, because they assumed Santorin would have backed. He's got 2 kills and has items. He appeared in the mid lane, which made it look like he was holding mid lane as LeBlanc had backed. But LeBlanc was down in the bottom lane. With that extra movement debuff onto Leona, that's just such a smart play out of TNP.
What a passage of play this is. And then they're going to get a dragon on top of everything else. Santorin flashing up red, but Yarrow's just going to be tanking that one out there. And they do pick up that dragon. So already at the 6-minute mark, you've got a 2,000 gold lead to TNP.
And this has been a great opening set of rotations and set of plays, because that's a big, big lead here at 6.5 minutes. 2,000 gold is an incredible amount. You can see LeBlanc has level 2 boots, the Sorcerer's boots. There's the Elder Lizard onto Lee Sin this early into the game. Typically, Lee Sin has high early game damage, and when you get the Elder Lizard at around the 10-minute mark, you start doing considerable damage. But now he's going to actually just shred through people when he comes in for ganks. Yeah,
so it's no longer just utility Sin, it's smash you in the face Sin, and then walk away laughing. And especially with some of the team, some of the lanes, I should say, that he's with. Shen can taunt Jax. It's not exactly a guaranteed kill. But LeBlanc, if she lands a snare on Ocelot, who's been playing a bit loose so far, that could definitely turn into a snowballing LeBlanc. And this is something we talked about previously. If that does happen, you've got Zilean for the utility.
Yeah, and one of the things about Shen Lee Sin is that synergy was seen a lot during Season 3. And typically it has lower damage than a synergy with a top laner that has a significant damage amount in the early game. So you look at somebody like Rumble that has a lot of damage, Renekton has a considerable amount of damage. Shen typically doesn't have as much. He still has a fair amount, but Lee Sin with Elder Lizard now, and against a Jax who started Flask because of the damage Shen will output with Vorpal Blade and his auto attacks with Key Strike. There's a harass going down in the middle lane. That's actually now not an issue at all.
Yep.
That damage is not an issue for Shen Lee Sin at all. They will start killing Jax if they decide to go on him and catch him.
Yeah, very good point there. Blue is being picked up right now from the side of Gamers 2. Yera has been caught here a tiny bit from Daoud and also Yuki, but he's able to get away as he speeds himself to a sanctuary of his own half of the map there, bot lane. But again, LeBlanc is just having a pretty comfortable time of it. 10 CS above Zed as well, on top of the kill and 2 assists.
Yeah, that's... I don't want to say to be expected, but the LeBlanc-Zed matchup is very much so a skill matchup in that middle lane. As I said, to pick LeBlanc first is a message of intent. You do not pick LeBlanc first unless you are absolutely sure you can shut down your opposing lane.
Yeah. But it seems so far that in Godbro's credit, that's exactly what he's done.
Yeah.
He's picked LeBlanc first, and he's ran with it, and he's made glorious things happen. Fair enough, a lot of that is down to Santorin's presence as well. But now you can see a bot lane. Yuki is trying to run away here as Zerios pops in with a stand united, not looking too good for Lucian. Forced to flash away, instantly gets taunted. That's going to be Crazy Caps picking up the 4th kill.
And that's the other aspect of that Shen Lee Sin utility. Lee Sin gets into lane so easily. You put the stand united onto Lee Sin. Suddenly, rather than a 3v2, it becomes a 4v2. And a 4v2 is a far more secure gank. Now they can look to push the tower down, maybe even look to cut off a couple of returning members.
And what do you do right now if you're playing as Morden on Wukong? Because your bot lane is starting to lose pretty heavily, your mid lane's losing heavily, and Shen's not the easiest of characters to gank. Oh, actually, go back in there, Oddbro.
Yeah, he didn't quite get the damage down onto Godbro after that. And Morden's kind of here, but I don't know what Morden can actually do in that lane right now because Distortion's on a fairly low cooldown that it'll be back up by the time he actually goes aggressive, especially considering that blue buff. That is unless Godbro goes in.
Flashed in there. Does he have the range to close the gap and try and make some plays? Because Santorin is also here in the mid-river. As we can see, Crazy Caps and Nero backing on away. Thought that all hell was going to break loose a bit, not to be the case.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it looked like it was going to kick off, and Ocelot just manages to dodge the Sonic Wave, so didn't end up kicking off. Now, they did take the top tower, which is something that, as playing Shen, you sacrifice when you use Stand United. Wow, look at that damage. The true damage will pick up the kill. That burn off the Elder Lizard, that is so strong.
Wow. I wouldn't even necessarily say that Ocelot was in the wrong there. That was just sublime from Santorin.
That's knowing his damage at this point in the game. That's so well read.
Speaking of damage, Godbro is going back in on towards Morden 5-0. We said this would be quite a snowbally game, and that's exactly how it started so far. The question is, can Gamers 2 stop this juggernaut on the tracks?
And that really will be pretty difficult with their team composition. They're not in a team composition that can regain a lot of control between the 20 and 30 minute mark. They're in a team composition that will start to become successful again. We're talking 35-40 minutes with Jax. That's kind of how it's going to have to be for them. This is good. If Gamers 2 want to win this is going to have to be an incredibly long game, or TNP have to make a series of big mistakes.
So war of attrition or Herculean throws pretty much is
exactly
the state of the game right now, because you're looking across the board here and it's only one way. TNP, after getting picked up by the new org, definitely delivering.
We were talking about this yesterday, is as the Fox sound, and there is a roam from Godbro here, so yeah, we're going to...
Zerios does land the taunt there, and now we'll be jumping in. Here comes a Q from Santorin, who picks up the kill, goes onto a rampage. I guess the one slight saving grace right now from G2, though, is that Santorin on Lee Sin has picked up a bucket load of these kills. It hasn't been on LeBlanc.
The problem with that is he's picked up enough kills that kind of... TNP are now putting all their eggs in one basket. Rather than building a tank, he's built a brutalizer, and they're relying on Shen to just tank as much as possible, which is kind of risky, but is also a game-accelerating play. It's more of a solo queue style of build, where you look to just do as much damage from the jungle as possible. I haven't seen it in competitive, but there's the Stand United.
Stand United on Godbro. Ocelot flashes away. Shadow Dash narrowly missing. Do they have the damage, though? Santorin is unstoppable, hopping around the corner. This is really, honestly, a textbook performance from TNP.
Santorin has been in exactly the right times as soon as he's needed to be there.
Yep.
His jungling routes have been incredible so far in this game and has really just undone Gamers 2. And we were talking about it, that TFS have looked a little bit shaky at times. They've been looking incredibly good or not very good at all. And this is another time where TNP are looking very, very strong.
Yeah, inconsistent. And remember, they have a substitute.
Yeah.
You know, Yero is not their standard support. So the fact that they're performing this way with Yero, who himself is a phenomenally good support player, let's be honest. But still, we talked about that synergy. And it's not been a factor. As interesting, Daoud actually solo flares and then flashes through the wall to save his own life.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, he had to.
Yeah.
And there was no other option. That was the only way he stays alive there. The problem with that is now solar flare not available.
Dragon.
There's a dragon attempt. And solar flare is a big part of the way they'd contest this dragon. You're looking at that solar flare stack with the cyclone as well, because that's going to lock people down, deal a lot of damage. They haven't got it. It's not available. And even with that warded by Gamers 2, they just take the dragon.
They just seem to have everything timed to me. They've even got blue buff timed. Now, Santrin could be falling down. This would be a huge shutdown if he does so, but there's the Zilean ultimate again, and he didn't even get popped down into that with the revival, so he's going to back away. Did they steal the blue? I'm not too sure.
I'm looking for it. It looks like it's on Ocelot. Yeah. So the safeguard gave him enough shield just about that he didn't need the Zilean ult. The Zilean ult would have been a little bit problematic for them just because it's one of the issues with any revive passive is if you die with no one around you, it's kind of difficult to survive there. Lee Sin's kind of mobile, but yeah, isn't exactly known for his survivability on low health surrounded by 3 people. But nevertheless, it is there as a tool. 5-0 and 1 has a Giant's belt now as well, and Ninja Tabi. It's a very different build than we normally see on Lee Sin, but I think at this point in the game is kind of what he needs.
So for those of the viewers right now that are watching that don't know much about Zilean support, you did touch on it before a tiny bit about bot lane. He has a weak early game, but starts to come into his own around mid to late. Can you just expand on that for people that don't know too much about it?
Yeah, so it's kind of to do with the movement speed that he bestows on people. Movement speed is not as important in the incredibly early game because just the way that you take damage in the early game, the way that you move around, is kind of you don't have enough damage to kill, you don't have enough damage to output at the same time, just because of the itemization. However, when you're looking for picks in the jungle, 1 kill is incredibly important. So the movement speed debuff that Zilean applies is pretty significant. And if you can slow one person and pick them, then that becomes an objective. And if you can do that consistently again and again and again, then you can start getting objectives. That's pretty easy to snowball a game from that. So look to see Zilean either speed up a member of the team to lock somebody down or slow one down.
Mord coming in with the Cyclone landing on both Santrin and Xerios. Dragon's Rage there and also the Shadow Dash have both been used and they're having to back away. Ocelot hasn't done quite enough damage so far on Santrin, who manages to survive by a slither of health. And somehow, someway, nobody dies in that confrontation, although my oh my, it was close. Yeah,
that was a bit of a back and forth confrontation on that one. Just to clarify a point on that, of course movement speed's useful early game. It's just kind of the fact that it's not as useful in a bot lane situation as a shield or something that'll really just allow somebody to soak damage early on.
That's very true. I was going to say about Zilean there, but Ocelot's taking a lot of punishment right now. Here comes Godbro from the side. Does JWoww have the raw damage output to turn this one back around? It's going to be difficult to lock down Godbro. It's very slippery right now. Shadow Dash through again. There's Yero as well. He is going to be trying to pick up this kill with the Ignite and the bomb on top of it, and Yero actually scumbags the kill, but it's all good.
I think at this point in the game, the rest of his team actually have quite a few kills, so he just wanted to join in, wanted to make sure that the 0 column wasn't,
He felt left out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because you got 1 on everybody apart from Santrin. He's, let's be honest, a bit greedy right now. He's been doing a nice job, but he's a bit greedy with 5 kills.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring after all.
And he's actually farming pretty well as well. I mean, it's not that much. I mean, you look at Wukong, who's at 77, but Wukong hasn't had the lane presence that Santorin has. When you look at the fact that Wukong has had to farm out of the jungle and has actually been doing a fairly good job of it, he hasn't had that lane presence. Santorin is ahead of him because he's been in lanes, getting kills, taxing lanes, holding lanes, all of the above.
Well, Crazy Caps is going to be in a pretty sticky situation himself because he has managed to spell shield beautiful Dragon's Rage, though, actually knocking up Morden from Ocelot, playing a game of bowling there.
Again, Santorin is in the right place. Deathmark comes on, and as Deathmark, the animation completes the jump too, he's there to kick him away. So no further damage. That's just, I'm impressed by Santorin's jungle pathing.
Yeah, and you mentioned before he's gone Brutalizer, Spirit of the Yellow Lizard. Now he's starting to build a bit more tanky. Warden's Mail Giant's build, going into Randuin's. I'm fairly sure that's going to be what's next for him. But another thing about Zilean that we mentioned previously is that this allows Lee Sin and Shen to go super, super ballsy.
Yeah.
Because they can just instantly be revived. So you can make those big, big engages that normally you would be 50-50 about.
It does, but again, go too deep and you're kind of on your own.
Very true. Very true.
So, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like you can get Lee Sin in there, get the Stand United on him, and if he needs it, Zilean ult. And from there, you should be in position. It's just a case of balancing, and kind of every team fight is different, but this is very smart out of TNP. They're going to accelerate this game. They're going to push through the middle lane, Shen's down in the bottom, and they're going to start taking objectives here, because nobody right now can deal with Shen. They require Jax to be far, far stronger. You're looking for Trinity Force, Blade of the Ruin King to be able to deal with him. But the pressure in the middle lane is so much.
Oh my goodness, there's just nothing. That's Leona. Leona's a pretty tanky champion and was popped in a heartbeat from LeBlanc there, alongside, I believe Santrin was the person that got the assist.
Wukong's going to get caught here.
Yeah,
they're not going to see him.
Oh, they're going to go for blue instead. Give that to Godbro, because he doesn't have much mana, so this is going to allow him to stay around for a bit longer.
And that's pretty lucky they didn't see him, because if Morden dies there, that is definitely this bottom tower. But again, this will happen when Jax shows himself in the top lane. There's no way of them having an even fight here. And look, they're already behind.
Yeah, Godbro is trying to be a nuisance right now. Eats a couple of shots from the culling for his troubles. But with Jax at top lane, this is allowing TNP to just push bot super, super hard. And I don't think there's a great deal I can do about this. Eventually, this tower will be poked down. It's already lost about a third of its health.
I mean, the other option they've got is they have to send Xerius back, which is the option they're going to go with, which is a safer option, because they don't want to let free objectives go. It was a question of what can they do. They're going to take Dragon, they're going to send Xerius back. Jax has already realized that they've kind of gone, so he's going to get white and rotate out because he cannot face Shen. So it's just a case of playing the smart objective game rather than will force towers down. And I like this. This is TNP actually thinking about the situation of the game they're in. If they give objectives to a team that are trying to get to the late game, then it's free gold for them. There's no point. They let them back into the game. If they suffocate their objectives in their jungle and keep them pushed in, then they're getting not as much gold as if you were just kind of making risky decisions.
So this is, again, to liken it to something else, it's almost like TNP, they're going for this boa constrictor approach.
Yeah.
Like, they just want to suffocate, steal all of the jungle. There's only one outer tower alive now from the side of Gamers 2, and that's at the bot that we've seen already. It's been smacked upon a few times. Whereas, I guess, it's just being like a Coil Viper for Gamers 2. They want to just try and bide their time and wait for the opportune moment to strike. They've yet to even pick up a single kill.
Yeah, and that's pretty problematic for a team composition with a Zed, because he really does... He's starved. You can see it. It's Bilgewater Cutlass, Brutalizer, Pickaxe. There isn't one completed item on him, and that is not a good position to be in. He's 0-5, his CS is below a LeBlanc. It's not a good position for a Zed to be in.
Completely agree, and that is basically being shown on the global presence, or lack of, as the way may be right now for Gamers 2. They've only picked up the 2 towers, but they're constantly being pushed back, and you can see that just mentally they realize we cannot go toe-to-toe with TNP, otherwise we will lose the game straight up.
And the problem is they have to do something about Shen, because although he hasn't made his presence felt yet, Stand United is available, they're pressuring mid lane, Shen is in the bottom lane. Jax is going to go to that bottom lane, but I don't think with the Trinity Force he can out-duel Sunfire Cape Randuin's Shen.
Just a couple of attacks there from Godbro, and Ocelot already below 50% of his hit points.
Oh, are they going to cut Jax off here? That would be a very, very smart move. But you can see JWoww's already taking damage from that Sunfire Cape.
Yeah, just the Vorpal Blade and auto attack and Key Strike, I believe the passive is called, and he's already got chunked a fair bit. He will get that back up, he's got a Vampiric Scepter, but still, it's showing that even Shen's doing damage.
Yeah. And all he's got to do really is just stand there and stay in the lane and make it push. And the rest of his team are going to do the work from the side. That's big damage onto Lucian, and that should kick off a fight.
Yeah, it is. Zed is going to be jumping on in right in the front lines. Instantly, Yero goes down, uses the ultimate on himself. As you said before, as soon as he comes out, he could be finding himself dead. That's a massive Stand United, though. That shield was about 3/4 of his health, and it keeps him alive.
Now, the thing about that fight was Stand United cancelled in the bottom lane. The shield was enough that he needed. Civ actually wasn't in that fight. They shoved a big wave up into the top lane as well. So somebody has to deal with that. Somebody has to deal with Shen. And it's 4v3 in the middle lane if they do send somebody to each lane. This is siege waves as well. This is incredibly smart knowledge of the timing of the waves. And Leona's going in alone.
Yeah, Morden is going to be firing off that Cyclone. Can they pick up the first kill? Santrin going back in again. Here comes Gobro from the side. We'll take it down onto Wukong. There we go. First kill comes in for Yuki onto his AD carry counterpart. Meanwhile, at bottom lane, Zerius is actually getting pretty crushed from JWoww. Flashing through. Will be picking up this kill, I assume. Or is he? There we go. So they do take 2 kills down. And now Yuki is looking for that kill. I think Santrin's going to be fine. It's
kind of surprising, actually, that Jax has reached the point that he can duel Shen. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this close to this time in the game, as he does only have the 1 completed item. I'm wondering what happened in that bottom lane exactly, because it looks like maybe a taunt missed, or his timings on his shield just didn't quite time out with the Empower strikes, but I wasn't expecting that. But this is not good.
Santrin has been caught there, but actually Godbro goes back onto Ocelot, and what looked like a guaranteed kill just ends up being Ocelot 6 foot under. Yuki's taking a bit of punishment as well. They do pick up that tower, so all outer towers now down from TNP.
Yeah, TNP let a little bit go in that. They were significantly further ahead, and they kind of went in riskily in the middle lane. They didn't have regen because they don't have Baron or anything like that, so they were relying on passive regen and that kind of thing. And from there, Yarrow's going to be aggressive onto you and make sure he can't recall. But it's kind of... I'm a little bit surprised that they went aggressive with that 3-man situation when Sivir wasn't in the top, because it left them in such bad standing for that counter engage that they kind of are just giving things away at that point.
Well, Dragons up in just over 1 minute 10. All 3 Dragons so far have been for TNP. Morden's been caught out from Godbro. Is he going to be able to survive from this engage? Doesn't look likely. There we go. Godbro goes unstoppable. 5-0 LeBlanc.
Yeah, that's pretty difficult to deal with. 5-0 LeBlanc, 5-0 Lee Sin. And how do you deal with that? Wow, actually, here's something to note. 5 sweeper trinkets.
Wow.
I have never seen 5 sweeper trinkets, and it's all because Lee Sin from the jungle builds a Sightstone. Yep. Zillion has a Sightstone. You have 6 potential wards. That's more than 5 trinkets would have given you anyway.
And you can see now what that's doing on the map. They managed to clear out the Baron pit, and they are starting this one off. With Jax not being here, who is by far, I would have to say, probably the strongest member on Gamers 2, they can't really afford to fight in this team fight. And smart play, though, from TNP. They're like, okay, we are stronger, but if we give them a Baron, then we've basically thrown away a big lead.
Yuki is actually doing pretty good as well. He's got the Trinity Force, got the Bloodthirster, and has out-farmed Sivir, which was something that was the same in the laning phase. Jax might get cut out here as Crazy Caps is going to see him. Ward jumps over the wall, so it's going to be fine. But Dragon is a far smarter choice than Baron here, but Yuki's done a really good job this game of keeping himself relevant and not dying a lot.
Yeah, that's very true. Just the 1 death, which when you consider how far his team's been behind, is actually quite impressive.
Yeah.
And that is the 4th consecutive Dragon now for TNP. We've had complete dominance over that area.
There's a last Whisper now onto Zed. This is the stage of, as I was saying, with the kind of curve where you have to start building armor penetration if you want to win. You look at the side of TNP, there's a Randuin's, a Sunfire Cape onto Shen, Randuin's on Lee Sin, there's Zhonya's on LeBlanc that you have to get through in order to actually deal the damage. And they're going to go on Zerius.
They are going Zerius, he's going to Shadow Dash through that wall and just does pretty much no damage to him.
Yeah, that Deathmark didn't do a lot because they couldn't get much damage down, and he's pretty tanky right now against any AD, and this could be tricky. If Yuki gets caught, it's going to be pretty difficult for them to clear up team fights here.
Yeah, they know that Ocelot's ultimate is down, and that's quite a big amount of punch damage that they don't have to deal with. So this may be the time that they try and make plays, especially as they can see Jax is in mid right now. So this would be a 5 versus 4, fair enough, underneath the tower, but you can see already they're chunking this tower down. Culling comes out from Lucian just to get rid of the creep wave, so there's going to be nothing to tank it up for TNP.
They're just going to wait this one out. They know Jax is actually in the middle lane, which is a little surprising considering Shen isn't, so they're just going to face tank this with Shen being as tanky as he is, and then look to rotate out. But Santorin's overstayed.
Santorin's been caught. This would be a big shutdown, but there's the Stand United again. It looks great for Gamers 2, but instantly the ultimate start getting popped. Morden's coming in with a decoy. Is he going to be able to close the gap here and start this fight off with Cyclone? doesn't look likely. Jax was darting around from the edge as well. And was that actually on the hunt popped?
No, it was the Talisman of Ascension.
Right.
Yarrow actually held it for a while. I thought right then they were looking to re-engage, which wouldn't have been good out of TNP. I would have been very surprised. The problem is they were held so far and were forced so far back before recalling. They're likely to lose their inner tower here in the middle lane. You can see that Zilean and LeBlanc are already heading up to it, but I don't think they can go 2v4. Maybe if they burst one down with LeBlanc, they can hold it. But I think the sight of LeBlanc is enough that they don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. The burst damage is just huge right now. As a component to avoid staff, may very well be going for that next. Not too sure. We'll see in the near future, I'd assume. But regardless, even though they were forced back there and it looked a bit hairy for a few seconds, they get all the outer towers. So now they have, if they want to, especially with the sweeper lens, as you said before, almost complete dominance outside of Gamer 2's base.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going to look towards this Baron now. Again, it's kind of half risky, but at the same time, they can kind of go for it. It's one of these decisions that is a balancing act, because Gamers 2 are reacting. It's a bait. Okay, because we didn't have the camera on it, wasn't too sure whether they were actually doing it. It's a good bait. It
is a good bait. They have managed to lock a lot of damage onto Diode, who pops the solar flare. That being said, though, they used a lot to kill the support, but now JWoww's in the wrong place at the wrong time. Godbro comes around, does dart away from that Cyclone. Beautiful play from him, but has the damage already been done for Gamers 2? This is looking pretty good for them. Lucian gets the shutdown gold onto Santorin. That's pretty huge right now. And with so many of TNP being low, they may actually have to back away here. Lucian is full hit points, gets the long-range snipe onto Sivir as well. And he's now on a killing spree, gets the double kill, looking for Godbro. He needs to be careful. Godbro is very scary at this stage of the game. I'm not too sure if Godbro can survive this one.
I'm not... Well, the thing is, TNP in that fight tried to get Godbro back in and kind of body block for him to try and land some damage, but Godbro's playing far too aggressive here. Zhonya's is going to mean his death.
Oh, and Jax gets the shutdown. That's painful.
That is painful, because Jax is the one that needs it, and Jax is at the point of the game that he needs to be at. Trinity Force, Blade of the Ruined King. Now he's going to duel anybody. And that's not something that really TNP can deal with. They've got armor, yes, but I don't know whether they can deal with the Jax in a prolonged fight.
I think that's where the experience comes in, and that slight miscall. I say slight miscall, it turned into a much bigger situation than that for TNP, but they burnt so much on Dayu to secure that kill that they had no CC, they had no damage to follow up when the cavalry charged on in from Gamers 2.
It wasn't even just that. I mean, they went aggressive after getting the pick, and while sometimes that's okay, as you said, they burned everything. And if you burn everything to go aggressive again against the Jax and the Zed, is not the best move, because if you don't have anything to lock down a Zed, he'll deal free damage and move around the fight pretty uncontested. And Jax is just going to start dueling anybody and everyone that he can. Waits for the movement speed.
This is the terror of Jax, though. He's forced to stand United out, so he didn't get the kill, but he still burnt a big ultimate with a fairly large cooldown. Yeah,
he waited for the on the hunt, then used the Blade of the Ruined King, so stole the bonus movement that Sivir had, and then forced out the Stand United. Like, that is why getting to this point in the game, Jax is so good. And they gave him 2 kills they really didn't need to, and free tower gold. And it's kind of accelerated him to be about 5 minutes ahead of where he would have liked to have been from being behind. So this is a bit of a problem for TNP. It's not the end of the game, because if Jax is split pushing, then that leaves them in a position where Shen has Stand United. As long as Shen doesn't die, as long as Shen doesn't get cancelled, they can then take the team fights with the better numbers, but it all is now just a balancing act.
Yeah, and also, on top of everything that you just mentioned there, Jax got the shutdown gold of LeBlanc. So
yeah, of course.
That was a big chunk of gold. It was 5-0 at the time. And Lucian got the other shutdown gold. So both of the most important damage dealers, you could say, okay, Zed's important as well, but they have 2 big damage dealers right now that are fairly fed. 4-1 Lucian, Triforce, Bloodthirster, and the Last Whisper. That's going to cut through everybody.
And I'm looking at Jax's items, and it's kind of a long way off, but I'm wondering whether that Negatron Cloak is going to be going towards the Spirit Visage to give him the extra lifesteal in prolonged fights, or whether it'll be going to a Banshee's Veil. Because one of the best ways of dealing against a LeBlanc is picking up Banshee's Veil.
Definitely.
It really stops her initiation. It's also going to protect from any taunts out of Shen, so he can't get caught. It's one of those things that either I think is a fine option. It just depends on what JWoww feels is better for him in this game.
Oh, the solo flare comes through, lands on both Goldbro and Yero, who has to flash through that wall. Was Ignite used as well? Yes, it was, from Leona. Meanwhile, at top lane, they've managed to isolate Crazy Caps and Santra in nice Dragon's Rage. JWoww coming around from the side, doesn't want to engage on that one by himself.
The last really important item that Gamers 2 need here is the Black Cleaver from Wukong. Because Wukong's ultimate will apply Black Cleaver stacks on every rotation. So you actually tick up very, very quickly on the Wukong ult. So having that extra armor reduction and the armor penetration is significant for having a Zed and a Jax. And also will affect Lucian as well. So you get to a point where they have so little armor that you're just tearing through them.
And another thing that I noticed there is that that's the first dragon, the first shift in this game that Gamers 2 picked up. So it starts to show how the game has started to ebb and flow, and it's going back towards Gamers 2. They're definitely still behind, especially on towers and global presence, but they're getting the big gold, the big items on the right characters. And we said this before, you said it as well, that if they get to late game, that's where Gamers 2 are going to shine.
Yeah, especially. It's one of these situations where they had a massive, massive lead, and I don't think that TNP did anything wrong. That's one of the things to point out. Other than a couple of little kills that they gave away, it's just unfortunate that the kills went to the people that really could have used them, because the thing is, at this point, Ocelot being 0 and 6, him picking up a kill is actually probably not the best thing because it resets his bounty. He can deal enough damage to be useful in the later fights, and just let Jax clean up. Jax and Lucian will clean up. That's all he needs to do.
The best case scenario here is probably for Ocelot to die in every fight, but to do so much damage that Lucian and Jax clean up.
Or even to just kind of be off at the side. Like, to deal his damage and then kind of like tower push at the end of the fight.
Okay, Baron's been started here from TNP.
This is risky.
This is very risky. They do have a lot of damage though, so it's going down pretty fast, but now I can see the Gamers 2 are starting to move around. Remember, they got Cyclone. They've got the Leona Solar Flare as well, which just came down on Crazy Caps. This is going to be a brutal fight right now for TNP, as their AD carry has already been popped right through. He's going to be respawning just in time to get himself crushed from Morden. On the hunt was popped before that death, but the damage is so big right now from Gamers 2. I don't really understand the Baron call. That just literally put Gamers 2 back right in the saddle.
It's done more than that. The gold lead is now completely out the window. There's no point in even looking at the gold because it doesn't dictate who's ahead in this game. Gamers 2 have a solid lead in this game. They're going to go back. I'd imagine this will be the Black Cleaver. That's also going to be the defensive item for Jax. Now is just a case of grinding out TNP, shutting down Godbro, making sure he can never do anything. It's actually going to be building towards more defensive items, which I think is fine. You know, the Black Cleaver, they didn't need it in that fight either. So it's one of those things that they're going to go defensive, get those Banshee's Veils, and shut down any hope of Godbro carrying this game.
I can't help but feel that TNP should have just backed instantly as soon as they saw Gamers 2 coming, because I said it there in the play-by-play that Leona Solar Flare and Cyclone in a Baron pit is just going to hit everybody.
Yeah.
Or you're basically going to have a home, heat-seeking, I should say, Solar Flare, where you can just target one player, and it's very difficult for that player to escape. And you saw that there on Crazy Caps, the AD carry. Even though the revive came up from Zilean, it didn't matter.
Yeah, and that's the thing is again, we mentioned it earlier, Zilean Ultimate is great if your team are ahead. Not great if you're behind and you're just getting crushed in team fights. The Banshee's Veil did indeed get picked up by Jax. That is an item that will be incredibly difficult for TNP to deal with. Because Jax will just kill anyone that touches him if it's a 1v1.
Yeah, he is able to duel pretty much everyone now. Maybe even 1v2 a couple of players. And he doesn't need any more damage items because he's got Triforce and Blade of the Rude King. He is naturally going to do a lot of damage because of his ultimate. He's also going to do a lot of damage with his Counter-Strike and his W as well. So it's one of those kind of situations now that when you see that Banshee's Veil picked up, LeBlanc can no longer insta-kill him.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, On the Hunt gets popped? Okay. That looks like it was a misclick.
Right, it's very possible. The question is, did Gamers 2 see that?
I would have to imagine they did. They were dueling minions at the time,
Right.
so if nothing else, they would have likely heard the animation.
Right. Okay. So that could therefore mean Gamers 2 are now like, okay, on the hunt's down.
TNP can't protect this turret,
Yeah.
and they can't protect bottom either. And if they don't send somebody to deal with Jax, Jax will take the inhibitor turret and the inhibitor before they do anything about this. All Gamers 2 have to do is posture this tower and let Jax do his job.
Yeah, this is getting into danger territory right now for TNP.
You can see they're committing a lot of people down to the bottom, and Gamers are rotating for it as well. Gamers 2 want to fight. They just don't want to dive for it. If they can bait out TNP by maybe letting Godbro do something like this is incredibly dangerous to do without the vision.
It is, and you can see he almost instantly regretted his decision.
Yeah.
He's like, peace out, guys. I'm going back towards my own tower. This is a bit too scary.
Yeah, because sure, Distortion you can return to, but if you get Leona ulted right after you Distortion, that's not good. You aren't returning back.
Then Godbro's dead, and they can pretty much push whichever tower and inhibitor they so choose. Right now, though, it looks like top lane is the lane of choice for Gamers 2. And you can already see that TNP is right there, trying to stop this from happening.
Bro, careful.
Well, oh my goodness, the Solar Flare. This is exactly what you said about 3 seconds ago, Stress. He's going to get popped into the revive. They're now going to try and re-engage off this one. Ocelot from the side is trying to do as much damage as possible. Yuki is by and large unscathed, though. Going through, he's gone way too deep underneath that tower. He could pay with it for his life. Yuki will get shut down from Shed, and now Crazy Caps of full hit points is giving chase. I honestly feel Yuki should not have flashed in there to try and secure kills.
Flashing in is never a good option, and Crazy Caps chasing into a Jax. He may be low health, but
it's Jax.
It's Jax. he's got a Blade of the Ruin King. He's going to lifesteal that back up, and is probably not going to die because he can avoid your auto attacks.
I'm not sure if it was Relentless Pursuit onto the tower and then flash away, or if it was flash and then Relentless Pursuit.
Either one.
Either way, he screwed himself, I have to say there.
Especially at this point in the game.
Yeah.
At this point in the game, using an offensive, a defensive kind of movement ability typically as an offensive ability when there are multiple members alive. For one member, and you know they're the only one around, fine. Chasing like that is okay. But offensively in a team fight around a tower is kind of risky, and you saw he got punished for it. And that let TNP back into that fight.
Yeah, it definitely
because they had JWoww fairly low, Morden was incredibly low. No one was going back into that fight for Gamers 2, but they instantly picked Yuki off as Yuki went aggressive.
But good news as well from Gamers 2 is that Crazy Caps got a bit too greedy and went off by himself and ended up dying. So they couldn't do anything with that, with the slight mishap that Yuki made. Yuki, I don't want it to sound like I'm, you know, just saying he's played awful or anything.
He's actually doing
super well. That was the first mistake I've seen him make.
Yeah, it is one of the first mistakes I've seen him make. He's 6-2, nearly 100 CS over his lane partner. So that's a very uncharacteristic mistake. And I think that's the point that you're trying to make, is that I think he thought he was a little bit more fed and could take a little bit more damage than he actually can. So a bit of an uncharacteristic error, an unforced error.
It was an unforced error. There you go. The knock-on, you could say. But regardless, the players have respawned.
Kobe would love this. There's a blue trinket.
Ooh, that's not something we see too often.
But I think it's a very smart point in this game, is if Gamers 2 go for Baron, or something like that, they have a blue trinket to reveal an area, or even in their own jungle. I think this is a very smart time to have a blue trinket.
I would definitely agree with you, because if they can manage to catch Gamers 2 out of position, they have LeBlanc.
Yeah.
They have the speed up from both the On The Hunt and Zillion, and they have good ways of actually securing kills with the Santrins, Lee Sin, and Shadow Dash, so they can make plays if they notice someone's out of position.
So for anybody that maybe isn't aware of what the blue trinket does, because it really is not built very often at all.
Yeah.
So the old spell Clairvoyance reveals an area of the map. The blue trinket kind of has come in to almost replace that. Within a radius around your champion, you can put down, it's essentially a fog of war clearer. So you get vision on an area for a very limited time, but unlike a ward, it can't be removed for the duration. So it's a very nice way of seeing into an area, and that's why we're saying it's pretty smart, because TNP don't have the map control, but this you can't remove.
Exactly. And it's complete role reversal, because about 10-15 minutes ago we were saying the complete opposite.
Yeah.
That it was Gamers 2 who were on the back foot in their own base. And with Baron respawning in 15 seconds, the blue trinket could really pay out dividends if they notice the Baron has been started and try and make a play off it.
for sure. And this is what we were saying, is this is the point that Gamers 2 needed to get to if they didn't get the early lead, and they're here. 3 Banshee's Veils. Spectre's Cowl is on Yuki as well, so that'll be the 4th Banshee's Veil. And they have a lot of lockdown, and I don't know how you deal with 4 Banshee's Veils as LeBlanc. We've seen this in both EU and LCS. As soon as you get to this point, LeBlanc is almost a non-factor. Almost, because always will have damage.
This could be the moment where Zilean plays a bit more aggressive, because if his bomb AoE hits 2 or 3 players, it will remove the Banshee's Veil, and then they can look to engage. But again, it's the support, the substitute support. The communication's going to have to be so good to try and make that happen.
Yeah, and that's one of the differences, is communication is just so key. Yuki's just breached 400 CS as well, so he's actually going for Fiora boots rather than Home Guard, which I think at this situation is actually fine. Interestingly enough, Ocelot has been so starved in this game that he's had to build primary items before secondary boots.
Yeah.
So not that he needs it, Zed has a lot of mobility.
That's true, yep.
But it's just one of those interesting points. However, this is a really nice rotation out by TNP.
Wow.
They are going to get themselves an inhibitor turret. They may stay for the inhibitor, but they're not doing this fast enough. This is not fast enough to get an inhibitor.
Solar Flare and Crazy Cap, somewhat of a deja vu around the Baron pit. He has been ultimated from Zilean as well. So yeah, the question is, can they manage to mop this one up? Zilean has gone down, but so has Ocelot. Going back in towards this, JWoww's taking a load of damage right now from Crazy Caps, but Yuki comes back in to pick up the pieces. Double kill though from LeBlanc, so currently a 2-for-3 situation. Is it going to get any worse as JWoww and also Lucian are giving chase? Zerios looks to be okay.
It's smart from JWoww. I almost thought, why didn't he re-engage that? But LeBlanc is around and his Banshees is down. He knows that's the only person on the map that can kill him. If that was a Shen alone, he would have gone in. That was a really smart play from TNP to get the tower. However, the tower didn't die as fast as I expected it to. 40 minutes into the game, you expect to pretty much just lean on a tower and it goes down with an AD carry. However, it didn't. There were no minions there. There was no armor reduction or anything on the tower, so it took a while to get the tower down, and look at how quickly this Baron is dying. That's Jax and Lucian for you, just shredding through it.
An amazing combo, because Jax is just going to smash through, and then of course Lucian gets his double attack every time he pops a Piercing Light or Ardent Blaze, so pretty scary stuff. Also, on top of everything else, I would expect to see Sivir go for a Quicksilver Slash next, because Crazy Cap's the last 2 fights that have gone heavily against TNP has been caught from Leona, from the Solar Flare.
Okay, so
we're going to bring up a replay, I believe, that last fight.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at that last fight and really see how it played out, because the tower just isn't dying here. The Solar Flare lands onto Crazy Caps, and as you said, could have done with a Quicksilver Sash here. There's just so much damage. Even though the Cyclone lands onto 3 or 4 people in that, Godbro just isn't able to output as much damage as they need to clean this up, and Yuki goes aggressive once again, but instantly flashes away to kind of secure himself. He picked up the kill and instantly moves around. So in kind of mirror of the last fight where he moves in and kind of just dies, this time he moved in, got the kills, and smartly moved back out.
Yeah, exactly. Learn from that mistake. You know, again, it was the first pretty big mistake he made, so it's great to see him trying to evolve his game. Yeah, make sure it doesn't happen again.
There's the Black Cleaver.
There we go.
There's the armor reduction that really is just that final piece of the puzzle here for Gamers 2. And, oh wow, Banshee, Guardian Angel on Jax as well with a Hex Drinker. How do you kill that?
I don't have any idea. He is going to be alive for so long in those fights. I mean, that previous one, I even said he was taking so much damage, but everybody was focusing him. Yeah. And he still managed to claw his way out of the fight, then come back in again with the Blade of the Ruined King. He's going to get his life back very quickly. That's another dragon to Gamers 2. And remember, they got the previous Baron as well. So the objective control now is definitely took a 180. Yeah,
they're now up to 3 dragons. You just saw it on a lovely dragon timer. And
I believe that's 3 to 4 overall.
I think so, yeah. I think that is the case. But yes, it is great. Yeah, it's one of those things that they started off not having any kind of dragon control, and now that they are in just full control of this game, TNP have actually done a decent job of holding on.
True.
But I'm kind of reminiscing about the Gamers 2 against My Insanity game that I saw the other day on Riot's Challenger stream, where it kind of got to this point for Gamers 2 again. They had a little bit of a shaky early game, but they're very consistent players when it comes to playing together for the late game. They've been playing together for a long time now, comparatively to some of the newer Challenger teams. So they're very comfortable in playing these later games, and that's a really big part of their team.
Yeah, very much the case. It shows how tenacious they are as a team, that even when you push them back to their own base, they can always make the big plays. And as you say, consistency is key. I think we actually had a conversation about this yesterday as well. Consistency is so important for teams.
For sure. It's so... It's pretty much a linchpin for being a successful team. Godbro goes in.
Oh my god, Daoud with the long-range Zenith blades. Zerius is in the front lines, taking quite a bit of damage, but LeBlanc did not go down. Had to flash though, so that's pretty important.
So Godbro goes in, and normally when a LeBlanc goes aggressive, she takes somebody's health down to half. However, that time, Godbro went aggressive, ended up at half health, and is forced back. And that's a tower. That's going to be another tower here, because I don't know that they can fight against this.
And look at how quickly that tower fell. This could be... I thought TNP, just for a microsecond there, we're going to try and turn this one back around, but they thought better of it. They are going to lose this inhibitor, there's no doubts about that. TNP, they put up a valiant attempt to keep their base alive, but that was the last straw to break the camel's back, with Godbro getting taken so low. It's
going to be rinse and repeat here. All they got to do is do that in every one of the lanes, and then they kind of are just going to push into the base, and likely TNP will kind of just topple over.
Yeah.
It's at a point where TNP needs some kind of miracle at this point to actually win.
That's very much the case, and I'm not too sure if they have the damage to do it, because Crazy Caps this time has spell shielded the Solar Flare. I think his heart must have skipped a beat there. But that is going to probably be enough damage to actually maybe even chunk through this tower when the next creep wave comes. And that's the danger of Gamers 2. They can afford to do this.
Yeah, and the thing is they're having to use abilities to take away the Banshees. Ocelot gets chunked, but again, we've said Ocelot's job in these team fights isn't to kill everyone.
Yep.
It's just to kind of do damage and be there.
Because Jax and Lucian are the kings of cleanup.
Yeah.
They are just going to crush through everybody if they give them even half a chance.
And Gamers 2 have waited 48, 49 minutes into this game. They can wait another 2 and have that top lane push in properly. And then they'll take the middle. So they're going to back. They're going to keep the pressure on. That middle tower will... the top lane will push in. They'll regroup, push in after getting their buffs. And pretty much... There'll be a team fight, but it's not going to be pretty.
Certainly won't be pretty. That's not a word that I heard used to describe this. I think it's going to be a lot of explosions and fireworks, though.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit burst damage, because that has been pretty much the key in this entire game. But Jax and LeBlanc.
I wonder what skin Jax is using, actually, because then we can find out what exactly it's going to be full of. I actually haven't really paid that much attention to the skin this game. Okay, so...
Oh, it's Jaximus.
Oh, okay, cool.
Good old Gladiator Jaximus.
Cool. I was just trying to figure out what the weapon is, but...
Halibut, isn't it?
Ah, yeah. So there's going to be a lot of halberds in that fight. I was thinking it might be lamppost, or maybe he was using like angler jacks, so it'd just be fishing.
Fishing rod.
Yeah.
Is always a terror to be. I like Vandal one. It's like a plank of wood with a nail in it.
That's really old school.
It's old school.
That's
I'm an old school player. What can I say? I just think that's probably the best weapon he has. Because it wouldn't be necessarily an instant death. That would be painful.
That would be painful. Especially, have you heard how fast Jax attacks? Like when he attacks the tower at full speed? Like that's some puncturing right
He hasn't got anything on Yero's Thresh from yesterday, though.
Oh, that's a good point.
Lasso's all over the place.
Yeah.
Was just whipping his hair back and forth.
He has completed... Oh, God, Willow Smith. He has completed more of Malmortius. He has. That's also going to be pretty difficult to... upset through the damage. I mean, he had a Hex Drinker, so he's now just got more damage with that as well. And now they're going to try it with the bottom turret.
Again, though, as you were saying before, they're not doing any damage. They're just removing Banshee's Veils. In fact, if they can manage to pick up this kill onto JWoww, it would have been pretty nice, but JWoww with a GA and a Banshee's Veil has tanked up enough damage to allow the rest of G2 to go to bot lane. They've picked up the inhibitor tower, now looking for the inhibitor itself. In the meanwhile, Jax is pushing through mid, so he's coming back for take number 2. All the inhibitors are about to fall right now. This could be the end of the game, James.
Yeah, and they're taking down one of the Nexus turrets already from the pressure from Super Minions, and really Gamers 2 are just going to take this fight here because TNP are going to engage.
There's a Solar Flare and also the Zenith Blade follow-up from Leona. Can they do enough damage to JWoww to even pop his GA? It doesn't look likely at the moment, and in the meanwhile, Lucian and also Wukong are just taking these Nexus towers. They don't give a damn about these players. They've already got the Nexus to below 50% hit points, and now comes in the engage. There's so much damage being put down onto this Nexus. This is going to be the first game in this best of 3 going to Gamers 2.
Gamers 2 looking very comfortable while playing from behind in that situation, and that's why you don't give JWoww Jax.
Definitely the case.
I mean, we said it's one of his favorite champions, Kha'Zix and Jax. Like, if you give JWoww those two, he's going to get work done. And that game, he did some serious work.
So did Lucian. Look at that, 526 CS he finished with at 51 odd minutes, and was positioned so well in those team fights. He only died 2 times. Yeah. And at one point, I even remember us talking about this, that even though Gamers 2 were a long way behind, he was yet to die, or he died like 1 time.
Yeah, and that was one of the significant things. Was he came out of the laning phase with the lead. He hadn't actually... he died once in the laning phase, but had a kill to his name. So both Yuki and JWoww were just doing absolute work in that game. That was actually a really fun game to watch. It didn't feel like a 50-minute game either, which is one of the big things about it, because you kind of saw the kind of the ebb and flow of the way that the 2 team compositions actually just work at different points.
That's a very good point. And, the game, it went back and forth so many different times that up until the very last push, and you actually did call it, you said once that first inhibitor goes down, it's, you're circling around the drain. But up until that point, it was really anybody's game.
Yeah.
It was so close.
I mean, even up until that point, it's kind of one of those things that if Godbro gets the right pick, it can still go their way. It's just very difficult as a LeBlanc to do the work that you need to when there are 4 Banshees Veils. Like, that is one of the hardest counters to LeBlanc is, nobody can take damage from you from your first ability. Because you need every ability to do all of the damage you need. That
is very true. Well, ladies and gents, I think we're going to cut for a quick commercial break. And we are currently in the lobby with 4 players. So we're going to be back very shortly. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple moments.